welcome to another video. In this video, I will talk about my anti-anxiety and panic guide that I've created for myself for those moments where anxiety or panic kicks in and I'm dying of fear and panic. And I thought I would share it with you guys because maybe this idea can help you as well. So this is my anti-anxiety or anti-panic guide, and I've called it Anti-Panic Guide of Certain Truths. And I will explain to you guys why I gave it this title. So basically, the idea is that you create a guide for yourself that you can follow and that can reassure you when things get really rough because of panic or anxiety, or even both. What happens when we become anxious or when we get a panic attack is the frontal lobe in our brain gets activated. And when that part of our brain is activated, we are unable to think rationally. So in those moments, we are unable to think clearly and to make healthy decisions. And if you suffer from an anxiety disorder or another mental illness that involves thinking irrationally sometimes, you may have noticed that sometimes family members or close friends get really angry with you or frustrated because they are trying to help you when you're in the middle of an anxiety attack and they can't. There's a train passing by, I'm so sorry. We do live near the train station, so I apologize for that. Okay, so, and usually when family members or friends get really angry and frustrated, you know, those times when they say stuff like, just get over it, or I don't get it why you keep saying this or that, or they become angry because of something you say in that moment, it's usually because they are thinking rationally and they don't understand that you in that moment aren't able to think the way they are thinking. They don't really understand that you are actually unable to start thinking rationally again as long as your frontal lobe is activated. And because of that, they lose their empathy and they become angry or frustrated, and they usually don't mean to be mean or not understanding. It's just a thing, it happens. It's really frustrating for people suffering from mental illness, but you know, that's because you in that moment are being completely irrational. And for me, when I'm completely irrational, it's really hard to convince myself of the truth, because my eating disorder will give me a panic attack and it will tell me a pack of lies to drive me towards binge eating. And no matter what I say, I can say all of these rational things to the irrational lies the eating disorder is telling me. No matter what I say, I just can't convince myself that my rational voice is right and the eating disorder is wrong. It's because I simply can't feel rational in that moment. And that's why I felt this guide would be a really good idea. I've called it the Anti-Panic Guide of Certain Truths because I wanted something in the title that would make it very clear to me when I am panicking that what's written down here is the absolute truth. Only what's in here is the truth. So during a panic attack, I can only trust the words on this paper and not the thoughts and the fears in my head. So if you want to create an anti-panic guide or an anti-anxiety guide, then when you are rational, so when you are not having a panic or anxiety attack, You're going to brainstorm about what usually triggers you and what thoughts and fears are going through your head when you are being irrational and anxious and panicky. So you usually know from experience what the thoughts and fears are that drive you crazy. What are your struggles? So I'm going to tell you what my struggles are, what my bad thoughts are during a panic attack, and I will also tell you what I've written down to reassure myself when I'm actually having the panic attack. So I'm just going to discuss a few with you because I feel like otherwise this video might be too long. I'm going to choose the ones that I think are most relatable. I hope so, at least. So one of them is when you feel lost and you don't know where you're going and if you're ever going to succeed, don't look at the top of the mountain. You are going to get there and it's actually really easy. You only have to think, what can I do now to achieve my goal in the future? Not binging, hoop dancing, which is dancing with a hula hoop, and I will make videos about this because it's a dream of mine. I want to become a hula hoop artist, but I will make a video about this in the future. So not binging, hoop dancing, practicing new hoop dance tricks for about 10 minutes, for example, studying Russian for an hour. You don't have to think about your planning of tomorrow. What you do now is important, and tomorrow you have to live in the now again. And before you even know it, all of these little nows will have been formed into you having achieved your goal. So, before you know it, all of these little nows will add up into you achieving your goal, Achieving something big is not that hard. You just have to do small things every day and be consistent with them, and then you will achieve your goal. But if you look at the top of the mountain and you don't just take it day by day, then it's so overwhelming that you'll be struck by anxiety like right away. So that's one of the huge ones that's on my list. And then another huge one is if you feel super scared and if you feel like it's not a good idea to persevere and not binge eat, then know that your brain is lying to you. Your brain wants to protect you, but it doesn't know that in this case it is safe to change. Your brain will do anything to convince you that you don't have to persevere now, but you know that this is a lie and that it's completely normal that you feel this way. The fact that you feel this way is not a sign that you should not persevere. It's the right choice to go through the pain and it will be rewarded with success. Now, the reason I wrote this one down is because every time I feel pain and I want to go through the pain, through the anxiety, I notice that I really want to do it, but it's like my brain isn't allowing me to do it, so it feels impossible. And I know that from an evolutionary standpoint, we are wired as humans to not want to change anything, because we have a reptile brain in this part of our head that has a function to protect us. And whenever doubt comes into play, it's activated. And when it's activated, it's there to protect you. So whenever you feel just a little bit uncomfortable, this part of your brain is activated and it's there to protect us. But it doesn't know the difference between the good uncomfortable and the bad uncomfortable. So it associates every form of being uncomfortable with danger. So when it gets activated, it's like, uh-oh, my human is feeling uncomfortable. I need to protect it. So I'm going to do everything I can to convince my human that it shouldn't do this or that. It's not safe. It's a risk. Risks are dangerous. they are life-threatening, I am going to convince my human that it's not a good idea to go through with this. And that's really inconvenient. So the good news is that you have a very healthy brain because your brain is still trying to protect you. It's a thing from ancient times, but the bad thing is that it doesn't always work in your advantage when you want to change something. And the more uncomfortable or painful it is, the more your brain is going to be like, don't do it, just do what you always do, just binge and you'll feel better, you know? It just wants to keep you warm and safe, but that's not what you want right now. You have to go through the pain, you know? So that's to remind me that it's really important to not listen to my brain in that moment, because my brain just feels so convincing when I'm fighting anxiety. It's so convincing, and it will make me think like, right, I should binge. It's a bad idea not to binge, even though rationally I know what the fuck, what is this going to, this is not bettering my life. If I binge now, everything is just getting worse. But still, you feel like it's the right thing because your brain is screaming at you, no, I don't want you to change. This hurts too much. It's not a good idea. It's not safe. You're going to die, you know? So, because this is my guide of certain truths, I know this is the only truth. What is going through my head right now, I should just let it play like the images in a movie, and you should not pay attention to your anxiety or your fears anymore. Just let them play in your head as you would play some music or a movie. Like a movie, you're just watching a movie, you're not actually living it. So it's okay for the thoughts to be there, but you don't need to be living in them. Do you know what I mean? Just let them play in front of your eyes, in the back of your head, or whatever, but don't keep acting on them or thinking about them even more. Just let them be there, but just observe them as if you were observing a movie. But you're never living in a movie, you're never experiencing the movie, you're just watching it, you know? So those are two huge points for me that I wrote down in my anti-anxiety guide. Also, another huge one is when you're depressed or when you feel uninspired, it's okay to be unproductive for a day, as long as you don't binge. Just look at that day as an opportunity to learn how to go through pain. Whether it's unbearable boredom, hormonal madness, or a lack of motivation, it doesn't matter. Just learn how to get through those days. It's just one day of your life. Tomorrow is a new day, and then there'll be a next day. Other people even have whole bad weeks. So it's not a disaster, it's gonna be okay. Another huge one is when you're anxious, depressed, or hopeless, and your brain gives you the incredibly convincing feeling that this feeling is never going to go away, this is an illusion. It's a false fear. Do not believe your thoughts, only believe what's written down on this paper. Don't believe what you think now or anything you're doubting right now. So that's also to remind me that the thoughts in my head are false. Only what's written on this paper is the truth. So, and this, I think this is going to really help me. It really helps me because a few minutes ago I really wanted to binge, not because I was craving anything, but because, you know, I had anxiety, and I didn't even read this. I just thought about what I had written down in this guide, and just the thought of it was enough to snap me out of it and be like, okay, I know what I have to do, and I'm just going to do it now. I'm not going to stay in my head. I'm going to make a video, you know? So that was my anti-panic guide of certain truths. So I hope this idea can help someone out there to do better during an anxiety or panic attack. Whether you have an eating disorder or not, I think it can really help. And if you guys want more videos like this, let me know in the comments down below. I will definitely make them. And let me know if this helped. And if you guys have any other ideas, then, to fight anxiety and panic, then please let us know in the comments because we can help each other out, okay? Have a nice day, guys, and keep fighting. Bye!